And here we go.
What is up, everybody? My name is Mike from the Super Wheeler Bros, and we are back once again for a review of Prison Break's 5th season. This time we are tackling episode number 5, entitled Contingency. Prison Break continues on its strong and intense trajectory this week in a really, really good episode. Michael, Lincoln, and co. continue to try and find their way out of the country, as ISIL and Cyclops is hot on their trail, all while Lincoln is still trying to discover exactly what happened to Michael. C-Note attempts to execute a new escape plan, and Sarah discovers her husband might not be who she thinks he is. So obviously there's a lot going on this week. This episode had some extremely tense scenes, with Cyclops hot on Michael and Lincoln's trail. And I really, really liked the fact that they didn't allow for Michael to be this infallible superhero that sometimes he comes off as. He didn't have all the answers, and what answers he did come up with weren't exactly the right ones. I liked that they made him more of a fallible hero. It makes him more humanized, and it allows you to sympathize with him as a character more, rather than him always having the right answer and having an explanation on exactly what needs to be done. It's a smart way to go. It makes everything a little bit easier to digest. The explanation for Michael being alive, I thought, was sufficient. It wasn't the most groundbreaking reason, but the fact that Poseidon approached him because Kellerman was not actually able to broker this deal, and he could revoke it and make sure that they all spent time in prison. And this was evidenced by the big gaping plot hole that I mentioned that we had to have an answer for. And that is why Sarah went to prison. Not only Michael's death, but why Sarah went to prison. That made no sense in season 4. And now it makes perfect sense. And I am much happier with the fact that they have explained that away and gotten it completely and utterly unequivocally spoken for. Obviously, Michael refused Poseidon's first offer, and then promptly Sarah got put into jail. So he therefore decided, I'm going to go ahead and go on with this, but the one caveat to him accepting the offer was he had to have no contact with Sarah or Lincoln or anybody that he cared about. And it's a very good explanation in the end. I was happy with it. I was satisfied. It still didn't give any credence to Michael's disease and that whole angle of the final original run of Prison Break, but maybe they'll address it at some point. I don't know. I probably won't, just because that was just a stupid and unsatisfying plot device in the first place. So hopefully, you know what, maybe they'll just drop it, and I'll be okay with that. At least they explain Sarah's incarceration away. That was inexplicable in the original run, so I'm glad that they got that taken care of. That's important. Sarah's portion of the story is, not surprisingly, the most boring and not exciting part of the story. It just, I don't know, it's not really diving deeper into it. I didn't really care for the, throwing it back on, Jacob may or may not be a bad guy, we don't know. If you're gonna go with it, just go with it. We don't need to create suspicion around this. There's only 9 episodes, and I think that was my biggest issue with his reveal as maybe being the bad guy, is he hasn't earned it. It's boring and predictable. It should have been somebody that has had a run on the show so that at least you know that character and you've been with that character. It's the one aspect of not spending enough time with a character over the course of a normal episode run for a season of television. You don't really get anything out of this, and it's just not executed as well as it could be. That's the biggest issue with it, is that it's not earned. You don't spend enough time, you don't get any time to like Jacob. You don't get any time for it to have an impact when you find out something might be off, or an impact when it comes out that he's not the one. Now, if they come out and eventually he's not the guy, that is Poseidon, I'll be much happier. However, they need to make up their mind quickly. I don't really want to play this shadow game with, that character. I don't want to see it waffle in between whether he's good or bad. That's really, really annoying. And again, I'll say it again, that's why the MacGuffin that was Kellerman was so disappointing. Because with him coming to everybody's aid at the very end of the 4th season, it really would have been impactful if he had ended up being the bad guy that got Michael sent away. And that's just not how it played out. But we'll see what happens. It's still very intriguing, so there is a chance that everything could play out in a really positive way. So far, though, the villain is not really taking shape, and that's kind of a problem. Also, Teabag at this point is little more than a plot device, and that's really disappointing because he's a dastardly and entertaining character, and he has a whole lot more to offer than just this garbage right here. So hopefully we'll get some expansion on his character. And Sucre was only in one tiny little scene, so I hope to see him back at some point as well. It would be really nice. We got a little bit of time with C-Note, so maybe we'll get a little bit of time now with Sucre. It would be great to see. This, once again, is an excruciatingly intense episode, and a very effective one, once again. I think it's a slight tick down, just because they focused a little bit more on Sarah this time around, and that story just didn't resonate this week, but it's still great. Still great. I am really enjoying Prison Break's return, so if I'm going to score episode number 5 Contingency in Prison Break's 5th season, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Once again, very, very exciting to see what's going to happen, and now that they have to find their way to get out of the country and just, I don't know how they're going to do it. It's going to be awesome, and I really can't wait to see exactly what plays out on Sarah's end, because we need to get that part of the story moving as fast and intense as the other part of the story with Lincoln and Michael over in Yemen. Tell me what you guys thought of the 5th episode in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review and you want to see more just like it and all of our other segments on the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because we're definitely going to be having a lot more coming to you really soon. My name is Mike from the Super Wheeler Bros, and as always, my friends, have yourselves a super week.